What's up, everybody? This is Jose from Sun Life.
And Katie.
On today's video, we're going to be driving through St. Augustine, Florida, the oldest city in the world. Because America is the world. What was that coffee shop you were talking about? Back over there?
Oh, Dutch Brothers?
Yeah, there's one there?
Yeah, they got it in Texas and I think California.
We went there, right?
No, we never ended up going there. I kept trying to get you to go there because everybody a while back was telling me that Starbucks is garbage. I need to go to Dutch Bros. And
Okay.
I never did.
Okay.
But it had to be something that we did when we were in Texas.
So it's a Texas thing.
Yeah.
But they're coming to Florida, aren't they?
Well, they're putting that one in. I mean...
Make sure your phone's charging.
Eventually. It's full charge.
Okay, cool. Never mind. If it's full charge, it's full charge. So we're on US 1. And we're going to drive clear through St. Augustine.
Yeah.
The exact route we're taking, I'm not sure. I was going to go straight on US 1, but then I thought maybe cross over to St. Augustine Beach and drive along the coast would be more entertaining than... I think so. Than getting on 95. We'll figure it out. There's a lot of towns up this way I haven't done in a while, and like St. Augustine our St. Augustine videos were so long ago that I don't even know if we're gonna see ourselves doing another St. Augustine video run.
Yeah.
Just so we can get better quality, because you know now our cameras are a little bit higher quality, and back then they were kind of just the overall video quality. It's a beautiful sunny day. I think the day we came to St. Augustine, the video quality wasn't great. We recorded with, you know, it's outdated equipment. Now we got to come back and do it 4K, you know.
Yep.
So we're gonna be approaching the St. Augustine metropolitan area here soon, and we have to devise a plan. We can drive on US 1 clear to St. Augustine and see like the commercial side of the city. I'm not big on like you know, showing the Castillo and this and that, because at the end of the day that stuff's already like, everybody knows what that's about, but people actually want to know what the city looks like. So on the north end here you come up to Nocati, and that's like, or Nocati, I don't know how it's pronounced, but that's kind of like a really nice suburb of Jacksonville, and not a bad area at all. Very beautiful, gorgeous. St. Augustine is the oldest city in the United States. I know people in New England think that, what's that place up there that they think is the oldest place in America? Plymouth, or they got another one they think is like the oldest city. Yeah. It's not. St. Augustine is the oldest city in North America. At least in the United States. Yeah, United States, because they already had other settlements. So as far as the United States go, it's St. Augustine, and people in New England, bless their heart, they don't know any better. The Spanish were here in the 1500s. There's no secret about that.
Had grandchildren.
Yeah.
Florida.
That's the thing. When yeah, that's a good point. When the
Pilgrims were.
Yeah, when the Pilgrims were having the first Thanksgiving, the Spaniards already had grandchildren in Florida. Mm-hmm. We're talking 2 generations before. When the English in Plymouth Rock were having friendly turkey day with the friendly Indians, Floridians already had grandchildren in Florida. So there's a level of historical manipulation where the English always try to portray like they're the most righteously established of the ethnic groups of Europeans here, but that's definitely not historically accountable. The French and the Spanish were here way before. Now, there was a French settlement, Fort Caroline, that predates St. Augustine. The problem is that it's not a permanent settlement. The Spanish forced them out, so they weren't able to establish, but the Spanish did establish. The Spanish and the French were here before the English, and they were kind of fighting over Florida. Then the Spanish got more power. It was a very decisive battle that took place in Fort Matanzas. which is Spanish for murders or massacre.
Yeah.
And basically, you ended up with. I do want to see the Castillo. We're gonna go to Castillo San Marcos. GPS it. I want to see it. I want to see what my ancestors did here, women.
You understand we can't film that.
You can't go in it. You can film from the outside. You can't film the inside. I know what I'm telling you, Katie. It's a road. It's a public road. You can film on a public road. You cannot go into the park. You're not allowed to film National Monument. You're not allowed to go inside. Look at a map of the National Monument area. You can't film it inside the National Monument area, but you can film like if you're on a major road, you can film driving through it. You can't get out into the park. If it's anything national now, you're not allowed to film it. You're allowed to film it. You're not allowed to use it for commercial purposes. It's a new law that just came in from the National Park Service. Let me see. And they haven't published maps to show the boundaries of anything. It's a national monument. See, the thing about that, so if you stay on that road, what road is that? Scenic Byway? You should be okay. If you stay on the road, you're good. You can't get off into the park. It's a national monument. So we can get on the road. Or we could bypass it. You just want to bypass it?
Yeah, let's bypass it.
Okay, now the next question would be...
I do want to come up here again
There
soon,
is no
and
again.
I want to bring someone.
There is no again. I've told you this 1,000 times. When you travel, you're here now. You either do it or you don't. There's no again. There's no next time. Do you want to drive through St. Augustine Beach?
I want to drive through US 1.
And see the beach?
I want to drive this.
You don't want to look at the nice areas along the beach.
No.
But we gotta decide which way we're gonna go.
I just want to drive through and show what it's actually like. This road.
I'm not gonna drive past the most cool thing in North America and not see it. Now, it's a national monument, but the road isn't a national monument. The road, you can drive through the road. You can't get off and into the monument. Okay? 13 minutes away. Okay.
4 miles.
You're allowed to drive past it if you're on a highway. You're not allowed to go into it. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
So, the new national parks laws means that you cannot record inside of it for commercial purposes. But if you're just driving on a major road, you can drive past it. For example, let's say like out west, right? You got the national parks. Some of those national parks are mountains. It's not that you can't record, like let's say the Mount Olympus is a national monument, right? Or a national park, I'm pretty sure.
Mm-hmm.
If it's in the background, you can record it in the background. But you can't go into the area, the boundaries of the park.
Okay.
You understand?
Yeah.
So if you're on the road, and everything on the left side of the road is part of the national monument,
Mm-hmm.
you're good. You can drive through it. Now, if you were to get off and walk on the sidewalk or the grass, now you're in the national monument.
Okay.
And then it is not allowed.
Okay.
These Gates gas stations are big up here in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
I wonder where else they're growing. If you've ever seen a Gate gas station, comment where you've seen them. Look at that sun right there. So cool.
Yeah. Reminds me of that Hey Arnold show.
Look at these new apartments right here.
That's nice. They don't look like they have elevator though.
You gotta walk up to the third floor.
They got third floor walk up.
Look at the Spaniards.
So
Conquistadors.
conquistador.
Katie, yo quiero conquistar tu corazón en España.
Sí, mi amor, mi conquistador cubano.
Oh. business. Yeah, it's a business route. It's not.
Did I say that right?
Yes, you did, finally.
Aww. I finally said something right in Spanish. It just took me 16 years. 16 years. Yeah, we've been together. This year we'll be together 16 years and married for 15 now.
Gotcha. So, no, this is a road driving through a city. You can record it.
Yeah.
What you can't do is you can't go actually in there. You can't actually like get out and record in the place. Then it would be. You know what I'm saying? Like you can drive past it. It's not a problem. You don't want to do like let's say like the Apalachicola National Forest.
Yeah.
My dear, it's disconnected. Like the Apalachicola.
No, it's on this road and it's only the turn into the parking lot.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
The Apalachicola, for example, Apalachicola Forest, right?
Yeah.
If you were to drive through it recording, then you would be violating that, you know. But you're not driving through the monument; you're driving past it. It's not.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, have we ever done we did Green Cove Springs, right?
Yeah, we did.
It's kind of empty here today.
Let me see if we actually did.
Yeah, we did. There's still a few little spots we haven't done.
Yeah.
Up this way. I feel like this is the type of metropolitan area where if we lived here, we'd kill it.
Yeah.
Because it's so big, there's so many places we have. Mexican restaurant, I bet you that looks good. Doesn't just the building makes it look like it's a good place to eat.
Yeah.
But yeah, the English would wish that they've done a lot to eradicate Florida, like Florida's Hispanic heritage. They want to de-Spanify Florida, you could call it. And nonetheless, the state of Florida is just the word Florida is a Spanish word. I mean, but we're living in a time here in the United States where just about everything is about heritage and pride, and you know there's somewhat of a contemptible aspect. There's a Cuban flag right there. What's it called? Salón Nuevo. There's some type of an effort to de-Spanify Florida, you know, like remove all traces of Florida's Hispanic heritage, because the English and the Spanish have always had some serious disputes. Among the largest disputes between the Spanish and the English is that the English were pro-slavery and the Spaniards, the Hispanics, were didn't exist in their society. For example, many of the first conflict that arose here between the Spanish and the English is because here in St. Augustine, and if you don't believe me, you can look this up, it's Florida history. Of course, they're never going to teach you this in school because they want to brainwash people into Englandism. That's a new word I just made up, Englandism. They want to Englandize you, but they're not going to teach you this in school. But this is the real history of this place. The conflict between the Spanish and the English arises because the Spanish out west were mixing with the Indians, and here in the south, the Spanish had freed Africans, and that was a huge source of contempt for the English, because the Spanish allowed the Africans to be free. In fact, one of the conquistadors that conquered Mexico, the one that conquered what was his name, Kate? We just talked about him the other day on our channel.
The one guy?
Yeah, we talked about him. I forgot his name. But one of the conquistadors that conquered Mexico was... Ah, crap, we got overcast. It makes the video look crappy. It was nice and sunny when we came in. One of the conquistadors that conquered Mexico was actually an African. Okay? This is well documented. The Spaniards didn't enslave Africans. There were, now don't get me wrong, there were places where there were Spanish who were slave masters, like in Cuba, Dominican Republic. There were Spanish who had slaves, like everybody else in those days. But in general, the Spanish didn't view Africans as they had to be slaves in the New World, which is exactly how the English viewed them. The English were very contemptible about the notion.
Juan
Garrido, that's his name. If you don't believe me, you can look it up. Juan Garrido was an African conquistador in those days. And that was very contemptible to the English, that the Spanish would have allowed, an African to be a conquistador, a boss basically, or a governor in those days, somebody very powerful to be African. And here in St. Augustine, you had runaway slaves from Georgia that would come over here and be free. So the slaves would run away from Georgia, come here to be free. That was absolutely contemptible to the English. It was offensive to the English that any runaway slave would come to Florida and live normally free among society here with the Spaniards. Now, the Spaniards, I'm not going to tell you that they weren't differences between the cultures, but the Spaniards allowed the Africans to be normal. And here in St. Augustine, there was a huge community of Africans that was growing, mostly runaways from Georgia and Alabama. Thus, there was actually wars between the Spanish and the English along the St. Mary's River, just north of Jacksonville, where the English and the Spanish started to fight each other because the English would try to come over here and recapture runaways, and the Spanish weren't going to have it because it was their territory. So the presence of runaways that's so cool to see that.
Yeah. And it's still around.
Can I see the other photo? The other phone?
There you go.
That's an incredible sight to see.
Yeah.
One of the oldest buildings.
You have to send it to someone.
Yeah, I sent it to Dad.
Yeah.
Where's your camera? I hate that I can't find the camera on your phone. It's absolutely aggravating. Find it. Absolutely aggravating. Put your camera, as soon as you're a YouTuber, as soon as you open your camera, your phone, the first thing that needs to show up is your camera, bro. You have your camera in some hidden folder. La madre que te parió. Este tipo se me atravesó, man. For what? There's 2 lanes. You could have just done it further ahead. For what? Anyway, so the presence of freed Africans here was a huge, contemptible thing. Here we go. The sun comes out again. Great. That was a huge problem for the English, and there was actually wars along the St. Mary's River on the border of Florida and Georgia between the English trying to come over here and recapture their runaway slaves, and the Floridians saying that you can't come over here and do that. They're here, they're free. And that led to the Treaty of Paris, I believe. That was all part of the Treaty of Paris, where at some point it became an issue of, okay, out west the Spaniards were mixing with the Native Americans, and here in the South you got the blacks, and all that played into the boundaries of states today, played into when Florida was given back to the English or sold to the English, I can't remember. 1780s, I believe, 1770s, somewhere in those numbers. Florida is then, in a treaty, handed over to the English. At that point, when Florida once again becomes part of the English, there were 7 ships right here in St. Augustine, and loaded into those ships were the Spaniards that were going to Cuba, to Havana, Cuba. And among those 7 ships was an unnumbered amount of African runaways that got on the ships with the Spaniards and left. So when Florida, because this is a part of history, they don't want you to know this, man. They don't want you to know that the Spanish didn't believe in slavery. They want you to tell you that everybody back in those days, all the Europeans were like that. No, 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 no. When Florida was given back to the English, part of the conflict was that Florida, we have the Civil War. Americans are so big on the Civil War and saying that the Civil War had nothing to do with slavery. Yes, it did. Not only did the Civil War have to do with slavery, when the Treaty of Paris, that was already about Africans. When Florida was ceded to the English, at that point, already, man, it was a conflict of, and that's why the Africans that were here went to Cuba. So you have African Americans who now, in the 1700s, get on boats with the Spaniards and go to Cuba because Florida now becomes part of England. Or when I say England, I mean the English Empire, the Americans. This is history that they don't want you to know, bro. This is stuff that, like, it's real. These are real accounts, real people, but they don't want you to know this. They don't want you to know that the Spaniards were already opposing slavery. I'm gonna drive through here and then flip back around. It might be easier. Okay, I'll see if I can flip back around. We really need to go that way so we can drive along San Augustine Beach. They don't want you to know that the Spaniards were already fighting the English about slavery before the Civil War. That's not a conflict that arose in 1865. Dude, that conflict was going on in the 1700s. Because the English were adamant. When I say English, I mean the early Americans were adamant that they were not going to do anything with Africans, bro. They were set on segregation and enslavement, and the Spanish were against it. So now, those freed blacks in the 1700s, we're not talking about the 1800s now, go to Cuba with their Spanish people. So now, you have native Floridians, both African and Spaniard. Okay, this is what something you guys may not understand about Florida and Cubans in particular. In the 1700s, Florida was Spanish. It becomes English. Blacks, Spanish, Floridians that were here in Florida had to leave, right? Had to leave Florida and go to Cuba, which means that many Cubans like myself are descendants of the initial settlers of Florida. Both Afro-Cuban and Spaniard Cubans are descendants of early North American Floridians. And this is what a lot of people, like a lot of Americans start talking garbage, like the Cubans don't belong here, this and that. Cubans were here before you.
Maybe it's you that don't belong here.
Cubans were here before you were here. Cubans were in Florida before the English. Florida ceded to the English. Floridians leave, head to Cuba, meaning that Cubans and Afro-Cubans are descendant of African Americans and Spanish Floridians, the early settlers of Florida that built these castles you're looking at here in the 1500s. Not in the 1800s, in the 1500s. But they don't want you to know that history. They don't want you to know that. They teach you American history, they teach you the American Revolution, and they teach you the Civil War. They forget entire chapters of history.
Jose, what flag is on that pirate ship?
Cuban.
No, Spaniard.
Yes, a Spanish flag.
Mm-hmm.
There's a giant pirate ship there with a Spanish flag on it. So now, what are Cubans? Cubans are descended of Spaniards.
Yeah.
There's no difference between a Cuban and a Nova Scotian. English, French, Spaniards, Germans, and a bunch of other Europeans came over here and that is who founded North America of European descent. But they want to eradicate the Hispanic influence in the entire American history. They don't want to acknowledge this, dude. And even to this day, what is the Hispanic population in St. Augustine? This place should be 80% Hispanic. Like when you go to like Louisiana, they got 20-30% French influence. There's no Spanish people here. They don't want us here. They don't want Hispanics to live in St. Augustine. This is one of the most racist places for Hispanics in all of North America. This city right here is one of the most profiling and anti-Hispanic places you can live in North America. Because it bothers them that they don't want us here. They recognize, okay, this stuff was built by the Spaniards, but they don't want to see a Spanish person here, man.
As of 2020, there is 7%.
7%. Below the state average of what? 17%. What does that tell you? Shouldn't a place like this be 30, 40, 50% Hispanic? 7%. Here, a St. John's officer recently beat a Guatemalan who was not illegal, by the way. I'm going to check a picture of that boat. That'd be really cool. That pirate boat is so freaking cool. Giant pirate boat right there. No, I messed up this camera mount. You want to hug the horn at me? I'll drive even slower. That's a bad tactic right there, Wody. You don't know me like that, dog. Wow, look at the size of that yacht. Recently, a police officer here in St. Johns County beat a Guatemalan for no reason. It's on body cam. And he had a heart attack. He gave the guy a beating so hard, he gave himself a heart attack and he died. And they arrested the Guatemalan immigrant who was doing nothing illegal. He was just a worker. I think he had one of those temporary visas.
He was outside talking to his mom
on the phone outside of his hotel room. Cop came up, beat the crap out of him. He didn't have to. The cop said he didn't speak English. He didn't have to speak English.
No.
The Spanish were here before 200 years before the English. He doesn't need to speak English here. And well, anyways, they arrested the guy for like homicide or something, like killing an officer. Turns out they had to overturn it. Tu madre, bro. I'm not in a rush. You're in a tourist destination. I don't give a crap, dude. I'm a tourist in St. Augustine. I'm not in a rush. A crap. I'm going 25. That's probably the speed limit around here. I don't give a crap. That's what I hate about like people that live in tourist towns.
They're on camera. They just made themselves look bad.
I don't give a crap. It's 40. I'm not gonna go 40. I'm on a tourist destination. There's pedestrians walking around everywhere. People with kids and stuff. I'm not gonna. What's the rush? I bet you he'll pull up next to me at the next light up ahead.
Probably.
Probably will. You know. I'm not in a rush. I'm a tourist. Chances are, at the next light, he's gonna be right next to us. I guarantee you, up ahead, he'll be at a light next to us.
Yep. That's usually what happens.
You got people out here that are drinking. Like, they'll open a car door and walk out in the middle of the road. You're going 40 miles an hour, run them over. I'm not in a rush.
Yeah. Well.
Anyways, what was I ranting about?
The Spanish.
Kate, how Katie ruined my life.
What?
I'm just playing, man.
That made your life better. I added.
Just like standing up for herself finally. Like, shut up, Jose.
I added depth to your life.
Shut up, Jose. I'm going to divorce you and you're going to get deported for that fiance visa you're on.
You're not on a fiance visa. I know people who are.
Oh, yeah. The Guatemalan.
Yeah.
This police officer here in St. Johns County, this gentleman was on the phone talking to his mom like at 9 o'clock at night or something. Cop came with he had no reason to bother this guy. There was no police report. There was nothing. This cop decided he had all the right to, he was legal here because he was one of those migrant visas to work in agriculture. He was just working. Nothing
All they did with that whole thing is probably gave him his papers.
Yeah,
if
he's
you
gonna
are
get
the
the
victim
lawsuit
of
of
a
a
crime-
lifetime. He came over here to make.
Yeah.
He came over here to make $50,000. Now he's gonna have $1 million lawsuit. They beat this. The cop goes on to tackle the guy and beat him, and the guy was so polite. He's like, "Please, no English. Only talking on the phone. No English."
He's got a bunch of pro bono lawyers right now. He's gonna be good.
Yeah.
Like, they saw the news and they're like, we're going to help this guy.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it turns out that the St. Johns County Sheriff's Office, despite the fact they saw the body cam and it was very clear that the guy did nothing, they still went forward and pressed charges on the guy for manslaughtering the cop when the cop gave himself a heart attack because he was fat like a pig and unhealthy, and he worked himself so much trying to like harass this guy that he gave himself a heart attack. And then they wanted to charge the person who there was no reason to contact him. He was on a hotel he was paying for. I mean, the cop was literally trespassing, if you think about it.
Yeah.
If you think about it, the cop was trespassing and he had no right to be there. He had no reason to detain this person. There was no reason to detain the person. There was no reason for anything to encounter the person. The guy didn't have to talk to him. He was outside of his hotel talking on his phone with his mother. He paid for the hotel room. He wasn't here illegally. He had all the right to be outside of that hotel room talking on the phone and ignore that cop if he wanted to, because he didn't have any probable cause to engage this cop. Cop forced the engagement, forced a search, forced a detainment on somebody. You know what the cop was? I'm going to tell you what the cop was really doing. That cop was going to try to extort him for money because he was probably thinking the guy was illegal. He thought, this guy's illegal, I can take whatever money he's got in his wallet from him. I can extort $1,000 out of him. That's what the cop was doing. Well, he had a heart attack and died. They charged the guy with homicide. Is there a road that goes along the beach that's more scenic than this? They had to drop the charges. Of course they got to drop the charges. And now they're going to get sued. They're going to get sued because they knew
The A1A beach is coming up. You can go to the left.
Yeah, they forced this guy to witness a death unnecessarily. And that's what they do here. These cops here in like St. Johns County, Collier County, Lee County, you know what they do? They grab a Guatemalan, they see a Mexican or a Guatemalan on the phone. They're thinking, oh, this guy is illegal. This road right here on the left? You tell me, I'm driving. This one?
I think it's
I don't know, I'm driving.
Yeah, that's it.
Get your English potato eating butt and figure it out, Katie. Look at me like that again, so what's going to happen to you. I apologize. I'm sorry, Mr. Spaniard.
How dare you call me English? The Irish.
English.
The Irish puts out the English.
The potato puts out the potato.
Actually, I'm probably.
I
did
care,
my ancestry and found out.
You did your ancestry and found out your ancestors in Kentucky were inbreeding. Katie, shut up. Katie had
I'm not even denying
what is it, Wiggleton? She had Wiggleton on both sides of the pedigree. That's an inbred right there. That's not in line. You're not inbred. You're line bred.
Yeah.
People don't know the difference between inbreeding is brother to sister. You're line bred means uncle to whatever. You're a line bred.
Cousin.
She had Wiggleton on both sides of the pedigree. I was like, wait, hold on a second, Kentucky. What happened here? Anyways, oh, there are some national forests up ahead, national beach coastlines. Those you can't record. So make sure you know where you're driving me. We're going back in the city limits?
We're going to the beach.
Okay.
And then you'll be at the beach.
But there's cities and stuff, right?
Yeah, you'll be going through a city.
Okay, because there's some natural shorelines you can't record as well.
Yeah.
Anyways, the point of that is that they don't want you to see these places on YouTube. They want you to see these places in person. Anyways, what I was saying was, you know, these counties, Lee, Collier, St. Johns County, they see a Guatemalan or somebody that I think is illegal, and the cops, they shake them down and they tell them, hey man, I need $1,000. You know, and you know, or I want $5,000, or I'm gonna get you deported. And they extort these immigrants.
And if you say, "Oh no, I never,"
Then they beat you and arrest you and deport you.
Yeah, if you're thinking watching this, "Oh no, I've never seen that. They wouldn't do that." No.
What's the geographical place we're in right now?
St. Augustine Beach.
Okay. Anastasia State Park. So yeah, that's a state park. You're good. We drove to a state park. State parks are good. So this is St. Augustine Beach here. All right, guys. St. Augustine Beach will be a different video. Check it out.
Check it out.